Someone who's been campaigning to stop HS2 I don't know how she feels this morning. Let's ask her. Caroline Thomson-Smith joins us now. It's good to see you this morning. I'm a bit torn as to quite what to ask you, Caroline, because there's all this talk about what is going to happen with HS2. What seems certain is, whatever else, it will go from London somewhere to Birmingham. So where you've been campaigning against it, it's guaranteed to happen.
I'm not so sure about that. And if you would speak to local residents around here, and please bear in mind, this is not a NIMBY argument here, a NIMBY argument, I should say, because the impact that HS2 will have is national scandal, not only financially, but in terms of the embedded carbon. I just want to dispel one myth straight away, is that HS2 is not green transport. It is not carbon zero. It will never be net zero. After 120 years, there will still be 1.45 million embedded tonnes of carbon. That will never be recouped. And if that line goes only from Old Oak Common to Curzon Street, not from central London to central Birmingham, but to the outskirts, that carbon case will be even worse. Not only will the carbon case be worse, but the financial case, the business case, will be worse. HS2 relies upon 1,500 passengers per train, 18 trains an hour each way for 15 hours a day. Where are these people going to come from to get onto HS2 to make that financial case, to make that carbon case? It was only in July that the Infrastructure and Projects Authority said that HS2 was not deliverable in its current form. And the Public Accounts Committee have consistently rated HS2 as amber or red, meaning that it is very poor value for money. And people around here, they see their lives have been upturned and devastated. And please, Anne, I beg you, please don't say that we'll be glad it's built when we've got it. We won't, because the general population will never be able to afford a ticket on HS2. The average taxpayer will be paying £7,700 towards HS2 to finance it. The general person will never be able to ride on HS2. And also, we won't be glad about it, because if you said that to any of the people that live around here whose lives are being devastated and turned upside down, businesses that have been lost, farmland that's been possessed, homes that have been demolished. I know of 2 people locally who have died prematurely, having their homes possessed, having their business possessed. One chap from a stroke, one lady from a heart attack. These are the stories that you do not hear. Local people who are suffering mental health issues because of the impact that this project is having on their lives.
But Caroline, can I just put it to you, when our kids are grown up in 20, 30 years' time, isn't there a danger they're going to look at this sort of crumbling rail network full of really old stock that doesn't really deliver what you need, what a civilised country needs in 30-odd years' time? And they're going to say, why didn't we build HS2? At least that would be a modern, up-to-date system.
Well, interestingly, HS2 is already outmoded technology. So I actually thought you were describing HS2 at first there, because HS2 is outmoded technology. So in 20 years' time, when they believe it may be finished, and it's continually running behind schedule, and continually, I speak to workers, and they laugh at the idea of it even being ready by 2041. It will already be outmoded technology. So if we want to invest in our future, let's invest in our current railways. When we talk about levelling up the north-south divide, here's an idea. Instead of sinking yet more money into HS2, and by the way, do you know how much money is being spent each week on HS2?
Tell us.
£136 million per week is being spent on HS2. That's horrific. Forget the sunk cost. It's been spent, it's been providing men with jobs, although those jobs have been decimating our countryside. And in the very week that our nation is up in arms over the vandalism of one sycamore tree, think about the thousands and thousands of trees of national and significant importance, such as the Covington pear tree, a national tree, the second largest wild pear tree in the country was taken down by HS2. It's appalling. So I was going to talk about levelling up the north and south. Let's spend that money instead on doubling the number of primary schools in this country, because that's what HS2 money could bring us. That would, and Andy Burnham, I disagree with him. Let's invest in our future. Let's increase the number of primary schools. Let's put in some high-speed broadband. These things could be done at a fraction of the price, would create jobs. HS2 doesn't create jobs, it shifts jobs from elsewhere. There's just a handful of jobs created by HS2.
But look, when it comes to the question as to whether we get rid of HS2 or not, and obviously there are different sides to that argument. How far along is HS2? I live not that far away from you, I think, and you do see a lot of infrastructure already in. So when we're talking about Curzon Street to Old Oak Common, well, there is near where I am. You've got to ask, can we scrap that stage or not, or is it too far gone?
I don't believe that it is too far gone. I wish actually I'd been able to take this Zoom call from just down the road, but interestingly, I can't even get a decent phone signal there, much less a broadband signal. So if we're talking about some green infrastructure, let's forget HS2, let's provide homes with some broadband internet so people can be working from home effectively. I was staggered recently when Grant Shapps said, the large proportion of HS2 is completed. What does that mean exactly? Give us some facts, not these broad brushstrokes. Not 1 centimetre of track has been laid. And again, talking to local residents recently, they would love to see the track, this horrible scar that has been created by the devastation of triple SIs, of nature reserves, of ancient woodlands. Let's rewild it. Let's give it back to the public, or give it back to landowners if they want it. Let's rewild that. Let's put it back. We'll never get it back as it was, because ancient woodland is irreplaceable. It cannot be replaced.
OK, Caroline,
but let's
final thing then. The government, we are told there will be an announcement on this today, actually, we're told. What would you want them to say?
I would want them to say, we have been arrogant, we've been ignorant, we've lied to the public on so many issues regarding HS2, we've disregarded the individual impact that it would have for people that live along this route, that's lives have been turned upside down and will be for another 20 years during its construction. It's a complete waste of money. It was a vanity project. It never was a green infrastructure project. It was never about capacity. It was never about any of these things. These were retrospective justifications because somebody had a brilliant idea of having this super duper shiny train. We're going to scrap the whole thing. We've got it.
Caroline. They're not going to say any of that.
No, they're not going to say that.
They're not going to say any of that.
Well, they're going to say that. I really hope they say we're going to scrap the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to do something better instead. We're going to take on some of my ideas about broadband and primary schools.
Well, you never know.
Well, that's an interesting one. It really is.
Really good to talk to you this morning. Thanks very much indeed.
Wow. She puts forward a very, very powerful argument.